This is the start of creating a web page, and we want to set up our structure first. So I have sent you a folder or a zip file that has a bunch of folders in it. Assignments, which has all the assignment files here. You also have a folder for client, website, and content. Those are not assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they are assignments. I have a folder here for Flexbox, and you'll see that a little bit later on. Then I have two versions of Sublime Text, one a 32-bit for a very old computer, and the 64-bit, which most people will be using, but I give you both anyway, just in case. All right, the first thing we need to do is set up our structure. Assignment one, assignment one had you just doing your free Hostia, and assignment two was CodePen. So assignment three is what we're going to be working on now. So I want to click on that. And we're going to go ahead and create our folder. And so I'm going to do new and then folder. And I can't remember now what I told you to type in. Let's just call this first web. I think that's what I called it. Notice I'm using camel notation. I only use camel notation on the initial web. Everything inside the folder should be all lowercase, no spaces, no exceptions. And that's because we're working on a Linux server when we upload this to our host. So web servers are mostly Linux servers, and case matters. On Windows, when we look at it here, case doesn't matter, and that's what gets you into trouble. In that everything looks good on your computer here, then you upload it to FreeHostia and find out that nothing's working, and that's because you use upper and lowercase. All right. So in our first web, we want to create another folder, and that's going to be images. And we're going to do this for every web project we do. Next thing I want to do is new and text file, text document, and index.html is what we call our home page for every project. You have to have an index page. And it's going to say, you sure you know what you're doing? And we're going to say yes. And then I'm going to create a second file, a text document, and that is going to be styles.css, and then get rid of the text. One other thing, so let's do that. This is going to be standard. At the minimum, that's what you're going to have. Later on, we're going to be doing multiple page. So we're going to start out, instead of an index page, we're going to start with a template page, create the template, and then when we want it ready to do our home page, we will save it as index. The other thing I want you to do is click on View and make sure that this checkbox right here is checked. By default, Windows does not do it. So if I uncheck it, you can see that I've lost my .html. Now I can rename that as index.html and you'll see it, but it actually will be called index.html.html because one of the extensions is hidden. So make sure you have a check mark here by file name extensions, and then you'll be able to see the extensions you have on your files. All right, so now we're ready to go ahead and use Sublime Text. So I'm going to click on my assignment 3 that has my file in it, first web. Oh, and then I have Sublime Text 64. I double click on Sublime Text.exe. I've already done that. And Sublime Text pops up just like that. Now I want to go ahead and grab my first web. So that's why I'm going to select assignment 3 here, so I can drag first web across here. And that's an important thing to do when you're using Sublime Text. Some of the other HTML editors like Brackets and VS Code, you don't have to do it this way, but I have found this is the best way to create your project. Create your folder, put your stuff in your folder that you're going to be using, including the index. Again, later on we'll do template.html when we have a multi-page website, but we have an HTML page and a CSS page, and then we drag it over, all those files are together. If you try to do it by just putting first web in here and then creating your index file, it's going to try to put that index file inside your Sublime Text folder, and it's going to be a mess. So this is the easiest, best way to do it. All right, so the next thing we need to do is create our HTML. So I'm just going to I'm going to open up my index page, and I'm going to type HTML and hit tab. And you can see that it puts in a bunch of stuff already, but we need to do more. One of the things we're going to change is that in the HTML tag itself, we're going to add an attribute called language. You can see I start typing it, and then I can just hit tab and automatically places it in. Always use your IntelliSense. And I'm going to say that I want to use English for this. Then after the head section, I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to type meta, M-E-T-A. And when I press tab, it's going to automatically put in the fact that we're using 8-bit Unicode for our website. And then the title, I'm just going to put in here for now, first web page. Well, why not? Every page has a unique one. We'll talk a little more about that later. The next thing we have is a meta tab called description. Now for that, we actually have to type the tags, or it'll automatically put in that meta char set. So I'm going to type a less than symbol, meta, name. You can see as soon as we do NA, it comes up. And the name for this is description. And then content. And then this is my first page. And you can put whatever it is that you'd like in that. Now we have one more meta page to do. And again, we have to use the less than symbol and then meta, so we don't end up with the char set. Name for this is going to be viewport. And then we're going to have some content. And here we're going to have content. And the content is going to be that the width is equal to the device width. Device dash width. This is for cell phones. And actually, that's all you need to have. But you also can add to that initial scale equals 1. Okay, the reason why we have that, where is, okay, device width. There we go, that's better. Didn't look right. Oops, still not right. All right, content is device width. That's not, is it content? Yeah, content width equals device width initial scale 1. That tells the browser inside a phone to not shrink down my page. We're going to be doing something called responsive web design. And so our website is going to be exactly how we want it to be without it shrinking it. If we allow it to shrink it, then people have to do that pinch maneuver in order to be able to see our page. We don't want to have that happen. All right, then our last one we're going to need is link, and then tab, and then styles.css. Again, make sure that you've spelled it correctly. There's styles and styles, and we don't need to have this type equals anymore. All right, so that's that. And then we're going to add something to our body, and that's H1. And I can't remember what I put in here. First web page, and in the notes it could be something different. I have my notes in front of me right now, and now we're ready to go and display that if we wish. But we also need to add our CSS. So for our CSS, we want the body and then a brace, and when the braces automatically come up, And then we're going to do background color. You can see IntelliSense automatically senses what I want and goes to background color. And we're going to put in that as red. Later on, we're going to find out that red is not right. We should be using RGB or RGBA or HSL. But for now, for this first shot at it, we want to do it this way. All right, let's do File, Save All. All right, that's going to save both these files. And now what I want to do is right mouse click on my index.html and open it up in Chrome. You can use whatever you want. So you can use Edge. Don't use Internet Explorer. You can use Edge. You can use Firefox if it's loaded. You can use Safari if it's loaded. Chrome is the best, though. I'm sorry. There's a lot of complaining about that, but to me, Chrome is the fastest and the easiest to use. So let's use Chrome. Plus, it always renders my stuff perfectly. And there it is. All right, so what we did is in the body, we have an H1 that says first web page, and there it is. And then our styles, we said that the background color is red, and there's our red color. If your red color didn't show up, you want to make sure what probably happens is you have a mistake here, like you have a capital S here or capital S there. Everything has to be lowercase, or you put style.css instead of styles. That's almost always what happens with this first one. It's kind of hard to mess up the CSS with IntelliSense because you can see body is red. And then I just typed BA and it automatically gave me background color. The other thing that could have screwed this up is if you decided for some reason to put quotes around red. You can see it's a different color now. File, Save All. I want to refresh. It goes, I don't know what that is. All right, so we want to have it so that it's just red. And you see it's blue now. If it wasn't blue, we made a mistake. All right, well, that's it in a nutshell. That's our first lesson.